Welcome to TRF Tuesday. This is Trauma Research Foundation's weekly mini workshop series from bright and diverse voices in therapeutic embodiment. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the TRF channel. It lets YouTube know that you find this content valuable, and they'll spread the word by showing it to more people. We'll take questions from the audience at the end of the session, so just drop them in the chat. And we're so happy to have you at today's MindBodySpeak session entitled The Eyes and Ears. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter. As a performance artist, Marshall Davis Jones thought having the right words was enough. But after exploring movement practices and their connection to sound, he discovered you could improve your life if you could improve your voice. MindBodySpeak is his unique approach beyond words to address the power of the voice. He's trained voices from law enforcement to luxury insurance agencies. He's spoken on TEDx stages. In this series, he offers his voice to help you find the way back to yours. Marshall, we're so happy to have you. Thank you, and take it away.
All right. Hello, welcome back for those that were here with us last week. And for those who are new, welcome. I'm doing some things, some little housekeeping things with the technology. Since I cannot see anyone, what we have is the chat, and the chat is how I'm going to be able to interact with you. Okay, so if you say things, if you feel things, just know that I'm looking at the chat, and that's how we're connected. So say hello. Let me just double, triple, quadruple check that everything is a go. Need to move these things down. It's always fun, right? Getting a little tech supported. All right, boom. So here we go. All right, so for those who were here last week, you already know what we're about to do. We're going to go ahead and get into our yawn stretch. So 10 seconds on the clock. Remember, asymmetrical twist, turn, let the body tell you what it wants. I can't see you if you don't do it. I'm going to, and it feels great every time. Oh, my goodness. All right, moving right along. We're going to do our square breathing. Remember, synchronizing with the hands. Listen to me. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, opening the fingers very slowly. Hold the breath, keeping the fingers open. Exhale slowly, closing the fingers. Keep the fingers closed, air out of the body. Inhale, opening the fingers slow. Hold the breath. Exhale slowly, closing the fingers. Hold the breath. One last time. Inhale, opening the fingers slowly. Hold the breath. Exhale, closing the fingers gently. Hold the breath. So for those who are new, we're not here. We went over last week the idea of yawn stretching and square breathing as a reset to, one, do what all the other animals are doing throughout the animal kingdom many times a day. If you have a dog or a cat, you'll see they kind of do this thing where they're like flexing the body and doing that, and they relax. They do that a lot. And that is very valuable for your body, especially when you sit all the time. You want the body to remember that it has to move. And then for square breathing, which is very, box breathing, those kinds of things where you inhale, hold, exhale, hold. But what we like to do is add the hands and the controlling of the hands with this breathing pattern, because the hands do get involved once you voluntarily control your breathing. So every 90 minutes, roughly, if you give yourself this minute and 20 seconds to catch yourself, it's very valuable. And for those who were here last week, hopefully you were able to adopt this into your habits and build on it day in and day out. And for the new people, welcome to this idea, and see how this works for you. So today, eyes and ears, what we're going to look at is those two things, how the eyes and also how the ears contribute to our sense of awareness and how they affect the way that we orient ourselves and move through the world. So the eyes are the windows to the soul. That's what they say, right? That's the gift. But what the eyes are really the windows to are these two spatials right here. And that is your vestibular system. Your vestibular system is meant to help you, be balanced. And what's really interesting is that whenever the vestibular system is like washy, there's like liquids and fluid in there, you can't really see well. But another thing that's fascinating is that wherever the eyes go, the ears go first. Whenever you look up, down, left, right, the ears will always beat where you send your eyes. So let's look at this right here. There is a connection right to what is very clearly something right behind the eyes, but then you look at the ears. And all of this is in connection to us being balanced. We use the term balance, but I think that a lot of times it becomes a very abstract concept. But what we want to look at is physiological balance. How does the body feel like it is balanced and has a state of equilibrium? And it's right here in these two instruments, which are very complex. I mean, look at these things, right? So what I want to introduce to you is an opportunity to get a feel for this. Today, we're going to focus on the feeling and sensation. Now, I want you to observe this about the eyes. Look at how the eyes, usually when we think about it, look at the eye, we see the eyeball, like a very small part of it. But behind it is another little alien thing that's happening. It's very, I think what they do for sci-fi films is like open the body up and then they're like, how about we make something that looks like that and then make it scary? And then you make all your aliens. But you look at these muscles, very small, but they're very influential. And we'll see how. So do me a favor. There's a blue dot. I want you to put your thumb right behind your head where that blue dot is, and just gently with both hands apply some pressure gently. And going to follow the red dot that's right there in the middle of the screen. So when that red dot begins, they said we are not seeing your presentation in the right view. We are seeing the wrong thing.
Marshall, if you hover on up in the top right-hand corner, I think, so move your mouse around over there. I think something will pop up that'll allow you to change the view.
Oh no! They said
I thought it was intentional for a minute, and then
So turn it all off. So this is what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what's about to happen? We're gonna call the audible. I'm gonna see what happens here with this, and I'm gonna hit the play button. Boom! And right now, we should have a normal view. Confirm that for me. Boom! Somebody said that's it. We're there. Yeah. They're like, it looks great. Oh my God. Oh, yes. Here we go. All right. So here's the other audible. I can either I can start over, be a little faster, or we can start from here. That's up to TRF and the crowd. All right. I know that we have a very limited amount of time. They said, just go forward. That's what it is. I get a lot of stuff from me. Keep going. Yes. Here we go. So take a look at this dot. Just put your thumbs right here behind your head. And what we're going to do is we're going to follow this dot as it moves around this shape. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Keep your eyes on the dot. All right. And just keep your thumbs there at the back of the head. And see if you can feel how there are little movements there. Tiny, tiny movements. So the muscles that are back there, those muscles are called your suboccipital muscles. What they are doing is they are making sure that your head is on, and they are highly responsive to any movements that your head makes, anything that goes on, make sure your head is on straight. But one thing that they are connected directly to is your eye movement. So every time you move your eyes, these muscles that balance your head get active. And not only that, remember that the eyes also control the movement of the ear muscles to orient themselves. So all of this information, starting from here, wherever the eyes are going, controlling the sense of the ears, controlling the head and where it feels balanced. And you can imagine that getting a good grasp of this would be very valuable to maintain a sense of balance and equilibrium. But it's all cool to talk about it in theory. But let's see what it feels like. So here's our blue dot. Our blue dot is going to do some really cool things. Once this blue dot starts moving, what I want you to do is I want you to follow it with your eyes only. Okay, so there's going to be a countdown. This blue dot is going to move. And while it is moving and you're following it with your eyes, I want you to count. Now, whoever's watching the Zoom with you or whoever's in the house with you, they're going to hear you start counting out loud to 10 randomly. You just let them know you're in a voice program. And this is the requirement that all right. So in 3, 2, 1, once this timer starts, that's going to move. You follow with your eyes and count. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Now, there was no magic number, everybody. No magic number. Just keep that experience and what you remember feeling as you were following with your eyes, counting out loud. Now, this is going to go again. And we're going to do the same exact thing. Follow it with our eyes and count out loud. And then we'll take a moment to discuss what we observed. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So what we've observed is that we just had to move at the same speed twice. What changed, if anything, for you? Someone said I counted slower second time. First time I got to 8, second time I got to 10. I was less surprised, felt more predictability. Counted faster, counting was much lower. Okay, we got a lot. The anticipation, counted slower. I was ready the second time, counted higher. Buzz, noticed my counting, followed the rhythm, paid more attention, less stress the second time. My head wanted to move along also. It's a lot of responses, felt more ready for the quick moving dot. Yeah, okay, nothing changed, same count for both. Okay, I counted 10 3 times the first time, counted 10 3 times. Oh, okay, someone counted 10 3 times the first time. What I'm seeing a lot of was, one, there was a sense of like, I know what's happening, so I'm okay. And since I saw it once and then did it again, next time I wasn't so shocked. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this. Life will not stop trying to throw fastballs at us. At 90 miles an hour. Let me see. Christina said, what? I was supposed to be counting? Yes, you were. It's okay. Don't worry. It was a bit hard to count and stay with the dot. Sometimes it can be. Remember, the eyes move, the ears move, the head moves. All of this is happening, right? The idea of 2 things I want you to pay attention to. Well, one, the first time you were surprised, you didn't know what was happening. Second time, less so. Life will not stop throwing fastballs at us at 90 miles an hour, right? Now, the funny thing about fastballs is this. A fastball at 90 miles an hour is still 4 times slower than the amount of time it takes for us to detect the human voice, right? I want you to keep that in mind. But whenever we are surprised and we're shocked and things are a little bit like, whoa, where's this coming from? There's a sense of disorientation and destabilization that happens. And one of the first things that will happen is you will be able to, it will affect how you're conversing. Be like, oh, snap, I'm surprised. Whoa, hey, But then once it was like clear, like, oh yeah, okay, the ball's gonna move, everything's cool and smooth, everything's slow. I like to invite people to get into the practice of, placing themselves where they have opportunities for their speed or their thinking to become quickened. Because usually what happens when we're going into a new environment or having a new conversation or maybe something we don't want to deal with, there's like a speeding up takes place. Like, the mind starts racing. It's an interesting term of phrase, but I like to stick with the body. And someone say anxiety, right? To feel, what's going. And when the body is doing all sorts of movements, right? Imagine if your eyes doing this and the ears move and the head moves. What does that even just look like? Just watch me. Like, this is an exaggeration, right? But remember last week we talked about how the head is always bobbing. With every heartbeat, the head is always actually moving. So on a very subtle level, whenever we're using our senses and detecting and looking and wondering, that is causing the body to desire to rebalance itself over and over and over and over again. So the very first invitation is, one, it's okay. Things will come fast. You want to get used to that and be okay with that. But also, let's take a look at this. So here's our blue dot. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so there we go. You have a different experience. We're going to do it again. So remember, 3, 2, 1, follow. There we go. One more time. Here we are. Mm-hmm. Now, what was your experience this time? Go ahead and hit the chat. Calmer, synchronized. That was much calmer, better. Lower I can count higher. Counting was much slower, calmer, enjoyable. The box breathing was, that was a very, started breathing more slowly. Breathing slowed down, calmer, lower count, slower the second time, easy to just watch. I know as I was counting with the ball, so there's everything slowed down. Easy to pay attention to, all of these things. Oh, Ty, okay. All right, now. You feel things, of course. Seeing the pattern, more aligned. It's all with the eyes and their movement, how we are using them. But the first time, it was like, all these movements. And even the second time we were anticipating, so we kind of knew what was going on, but they're still like, okay, cool, I'm kind of in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. Then it's like slower, but something else happens. What I want you to do right now is take a look around your room. And I want you to first look around the room with the eyes, with the intention for the eyes to search very quickly, right? And see how that affects you looking around. All right, so I'm looking around the space and the eyes very quickly sort of assessing. Now, do it again, but this time just slowly kind of look around the room. It's the same space, it's the same room, but it's different somehow. Mm-hmm. Breathing slows down, frantic to calm. Right. So the first invitation here is to bring that subtle awareness, the speed with which you are examining a space. And there are times when you have to be alert, look quick, see quick, find, move. I don't know. But what happens when that's consistent? And the body just kind of is always like, whoa, want to give yourself an opportunity to relax. The eyes, move the ears, move the head. So that's the first invitation. First invitation is like, well, what would happen if you slow the eyes down just a little bit? What could happen? The other invitation for those that might, let's say they want to be a bit more vigilant, what would happen if you just, speed it up? What would that feel like? This is not about right or wrong. It's about when and where. It's about context, right? Sometimes the context calls for a bit more of a snap judgment, snap awareness. You got a kid running into the street. You're not like slowly observing the environment. You got to go and get him or her, right? But you may not need that kind of vigilance at the dinner table having a just regular conversation about how the day went, unless the day went a little bit of a way and you want to share it. But you can feel the environment that's appropriate for how much movement. And this, of course, has a lot to do with our sense of safety, right? How we feel. Do we feel safe in an environment or not? Whether or not we can calm down and relax. But I'd like to invite us to explore finding that safety within ourselves, because we can calm down and relax and be able to respond to the environment around us when we choose. And that's the invitation. So I'm going to move on, and I want to keep this blue dot here. So I'm going to hit this button. And once this blue dot moves, I want you to do something for me. It's going to blink really quickly. And I want you to blink that fast, and I'll demonstrate too, and then try to take in a deep breath. So see this blink, 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 blink. I'm going to do it. So I want you to blink that fast. So I'll demonstrate. Blink that fast, and I want you to try to take in a nice deep breath. Go ahead. And I'm going to stop every single one of you, because I'm sure that you discovered quite quickly that is impossible. I'm blinking a lot and my voice is not happening. So the diaphragm is connected directly to your blink rate, and the body has a response. Basically, let's say there's something that's like, I don't want to see it, like it's a noxious stimulus. It could be a poison or whatever. You start blinking a lot, your diaphragm goes, oh, we need to stop moving so that we can keep you alive. But what are other places that people do this? When they're nervous, like, might not be as exaggerated, but there's an increase of blinking and hyper aroused, which then makes your breathing get a little funky, which then makes you a bit more hyper aroused, which then makes the breathing more funky. And you see what happens? It becomes this like cycle. So let's change the rhythm to something like this. And we may not blink on the 1, 2, 3. But what I mean by this is I mean slowing down the opening of the eyes, not the closing of the eyes. But it's like slowly opening the eyes, gently. Be gentle. And take a breath. You might notice that it's not inhibited the way it just was with that very fast blinking. So again, the invitation here, and this is what I want you all to explore this week, is slowing the eyes down and how they respond. We looked at how they move, and also how they open and close. I'm curious about what you feel in the chat about just when that controlled blink, meaning the controlled opening of the eyes. What does that feel like? Safer. Christina said freaking amazing. I love it. Okay. All right. Relax. There's someone there. They might need to relax a bit on it. Going to the beginning of a dream state, heart rate drops. Easy and warm and delicious. That's a beautiful word, isn't it? Delicious. Weird to have to think about it. Of course it is. It's one of the fastest decisions that the human body makes, because those muscles are under our control. Where our eyes go, how we orient them. So it's interesting to think about that as a decision, such a tiny decision, so fast. But what if you control it? What will that mean? Right? So let's move on for in time, right? So the ears, let's take a look. So there's two ways that we can kind of orient for right now that we want to focus on as far as how we listen. We can listen in front, and I'll demonstrate what happens. It's like, as I'm communicating, speaking to you all, there's a certain awareness of like you right here in this camera. Absolutely, copy that. And if I pull back, right, I'm listening behind me. There's like a certain awareness of the space around me. I'm still looking at you, but I'm sort of aware of like what's happening this way. And that difference, like what happens when you look and observe, right? I want you to see what that feels like. Look around the room, sort of bringing your auditory awareness right in front of you. A lot of us have practiced with this because we have phones. Most of our attention is like in our hands, in our phone, like right here. But I want you to now look around again and do this. Listen around you. You're just looking around the room, but your awareness is a bit wider. What does that feel like? And for this week, what I want everyone to focus on are these two things. So I want you to bring your awareness to how you blink, how you move your eyes. Then also I want you to focus on how you walk through the world and pay attention. We have a lot of practice doing this. Look what happens to the body here. This is very important. This is a posture of nurturing very small things, right? So we all know what it's like to take care of something that's important to us. I think that having an iPhone is very great practice for like ultimately having a small child in your care. Because do you know the things people will do to protect their phone? It's amazing how powerfully ninja-like you become when you're about to drop that $1,400 phone, if that's what you're spending or whatever you spend on a cellular device. So we have a lot of practice with this. But the energy around us is also there and a part of our existence. And so bringing that awareness around you, see how that affects how you move through a space. Look how it changes without really having to focus so much on my posture. Just my orientation to what's going on around me shifts my entire alignment because these muscles are all connected. So for this week, what I want you to do, eyes and ears, make decisions about how you choose to use them and see what that does, not only for how you interact with yourself, but also interact with the world around you. And that will be our time for today.
Thanks, Marshall. So
Thanks, Marshall.
I think we have time for maybe one or two questions. If you want to drop something in the chat, we can take them. See what comes up here. I find it difficult myself to just, working from home, being the last 2 years of COVID, being inside all the time. My environment is so controlled, right? So I don't have as many opportunities to, notice what's around me because there's not much sound. I'm not reacting to much that changes. So, as I'm going out, things are changing. I notice how different it feels, and it is something I'm not used to,
Absolutely. And I appreciate that because, we have been oriented just by the nature of where stimulus is coming from. It's not like good or bad. It's just what happens. I have a screen in front of me. This is where my attention is. My work is here. My play is here. My child is here. My goal writing is here, right? We don't have the opportunity to go, well, like what else is happening around us? And this is where, the for those of us who like go on the nature walks and hike and all of the good stuff, that's actually the advantage of those activities, because you have to, orient yourself in that way in order to successfully do them. We couldn't like narrow down and like go on a hike, right? You might miss something and trip and fall because the ground isn't even. There's so many different things. We have to introduce variables to us so that the body sort of gets used to responding. So, something to counter that predictability that we all have sort of inundated ourselves with is like, here's my phone, I know what it does. Here's my thing, I know what it does. Here's the pavement, I know what it is. We do have to consciously make a decision to go, what else is out there in these other dimensions? So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah. I'm going to do one quick question here. Someone's mentioning that the dot exercise is making them a little nauseous. Is there something that they can do that would sort of scratch the same itch without maybe causing some problems like that?
Oh, listen, then that's understandable, right? If like following that dot, you're like, ooh, you're doing this and that and the third, and it's like, whoa. Like people who have like motion sickness and things like that, it's like, that's a lot of movement. So one, I apologize. There was no itch to scratch besides the awareness of what that can feel like when you're following something like that. And how does that make the body feel? And that's a reaction. The reaction was, whoa, when I'm in that way, that doesn't necessarily feel too good, because your vestibular system and your gustatory system, which is what makes people feel a little motion sickness, those things are all in alignment, right? And so the invitation is to slow down. Like the blue dot was there as a frame of reference. It's like the world is much bigger than that dot. I want people to feel and explore, like, this is what happens. Some people feel like something. I had one person say, oh, that when it started moving really fast, they're like, wow, I feel like I got a headache. I was like, well, yeah. Right. So and then I asked them, like, do you get headaches often? They're like, well, yeah, usually when I'm stressed out. I was like, well, yeah. Well, how are you using your body in that very subtle way? Like, is that contributing? It may not be the cause, but does that contribute? Right. So remember, the invitation is just to slow the eyes down and, use them deliberately instead of us using our senses as sort of like a passive detection system, which I think we kind of like, oh, like these are my eyes and oh, these are my ears. But what if you were to be focused? So I apologize for introducing the feeling of nausea. Hopefully you feel better. If you need to like relax or come up off the screen, it's no problem. I won't be offended.
Marshall, thanks so much. This has been another really fascinating session. We really love and appreciate having you here. We look forward to next week, and a big thank you to our audience. We offer this program for you, whether you're already in our community or you're new to TRF. We're really happy to have you. You'll find all the past sessions of this program, but also all of our TRF Tuesdays in the TRF Tuesday library under the resource tab on our website. Behind the scenes, working hard, our TRF team members, Pat Murray, Star Muhammad, Connor McCann. I'm Mary Frangie, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Marshall.